The Toronto Blue Jays are suddenly scary good at baseball. What's up, folks, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. The Toronto Blue Jays right now are honestly taking the league by storm. At the time of recording this video, they are first in the American League wildcard, 38-30, and they are the hottest team in baseball, 8-2 in their last 10. And since I believe it was May 8th, they have the best record in baseball. Adam, thoughts on the goddamn Toronto Blue Jays?
They're shocking me, man. You know, back on May 8th, I was like, this is a roller coaster of a team. They're up, they're down, they're showing signs of life, and now they're getting beat up by, teams they shouldn't getting beat up by. But now they've found their stretch, and like you mentioned, since May 8th, 22-10, and right now they are riding a 5-game series win streak, including a couple sweeps, which was from the St. Louis Cardinals. They swept them in Busch Stadium, and they're on the road at this road trip right now where they're dominating. They go and they beat the Twins. They sweep the Cardinals 5-1. Now they're going into Phillies, who are down right now. They actually did beat the Cubs in a series, so maybe they're finding their groove right now. But honestly, the Blue Jays, I'm taking over anybody right now, and the way they're doing it, I think is the most shocking, because coming into this season, we were looking at this Blue Jays team like, dang, this offense, they weren't good the last couple seasons. They really didn't do much to improve other than getting Anthony Santander. But the pitching staff, that's where they'll be their strength. It's been the total opposite right now.
Been honestly the opposite, folks. The last 30 days we have up here, offensively speaking, Toronto is third in all of baseball in terms of OPS. They're up there in all the key categories, right? The batting average is good, the on-base is good, and the slug is there. And honestly, the key contributors, when you look over to this Toronto Blue Jays squad, all right, the key contributors might surprise you, all right? This is somebody that does not get nearly enough love. Now, we talk about him regularly on our show, Blue Jays Today, other show, just diving into the Toronto Blue Jays. But I feel like general media is only just starting to become aware as to how wrong they actually were about Mr. Alejandro Kirk. This dude is a goddamn animal right now, batting .325 with an OPS of .807. Honestly, like, the best player on the Toronto Blue Jays right now.
He absolutely is. He's been carrying them over the 5 series win streak that they've been on right now. And what I love most about Alejandro Kirk, you look at the OPS, you're like, oh, it's good. It's definitely great, 807. But you can look at a bunch of other players in the league and go, okay, well, that player's better than Alejandro Kirk. But what makes him so good is that when he gets to 2 strikes, he is literally by far the best player in all of baseball.
Yeah.
I can't read it right there. I believe it's an 871 OPS.
So I'll tell you, all right, there's 52-game sample size here where he has been at 2 strikes, I assume at least one time. When he is on 2 strikes, Alejandro Kirk goes on to bat .346 and has an OPS of .870. So ultimately, like, that whole... and just to be clear, folks, there's only 3 batters that have an OPS over 800 on 2 strikes. Because typically, when you get to 2 strikes, you're supposed to do, exponentially worse than, when you're ahead in the count. But with Alejandro Kirk, there is no getting ahead in the count against this guy.
Yeah, and Alejandro Kirk keeps it very simple. He has a very simple plate approach, which is I'm going to attack the fastball early, but then when I get to 2 strikes, I'm putting barrel to ball, and I'm going to just try to put the ball in play. I'm not trying to do anything extra. But what's crazy is that this guy's also got one of the hardest hit rates in all of baseball. I don't know if it's still there, but he at one point was higher than Aaron Judge just earlier this week. So it goes to show, he's putting the barrel on the ball, but he's not giving up his power in the process.
100%, man. Yeah, and Alejandro Kirk is just kind of one of many of the key breakouts on the Toronto Blue Jays that I think a lot of the general media might not expect, right? Flashing back over there to the roster, Addison Barger, if you don't know his name, you certainly should. We know Vlad, we know Bo, but George Springer was a shell of himself, for the last 2 years. So to see him come back and to see him have this type of resurgence is honestly insane. Now, that's the offensive side of the baseball, and they are certainly doing better than a lot of people would have anticipated. The pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays, the starting pitching, if you can believe it or not, actually hasn't been their strength for the majority of the season. However, one dude is recently turning that around.
Yeah, Jose Barrios, La Maquina, he's been a consistent force in this rotation for the last few seasons, and he's doing it right now yet again. He's got a low 3 ERA, but that's after coming off a rocky start. It's only been the last 15 days that he's been actually very good. He has the second best ERA in all of baseball, right behind Paul Skeens in the last 15 games, including that's 3 starts. So for La Maquina, like they needed some sort of consistency because, yeah, you look at the rotation, it's La Maquina, Jose Barrios. Then you got Chris Bassett, who's having a good year this year, and then Kevin Gausman, a good year. No one's really having an exceptional year. But then after that, they're really just band-aiding themselves along. Eric Lauer and Bowden Francis. Eric Lauer, they called up mid-season, and now putting him into a starting role. And then, Bowden Francis hasn't really been that guy since last year where he was on that amazing run. So they've been kind of band-aiding themselves along, but the bullpen has been the big reason why they're still winning ball games.
Yeah, the bullpen is significantly better for Toronto. Last year, it was one of the worst in baseball. In fact, I believe it was just behind the Colorado Rockies for the worst bullpen, and it wasn't that far behind Colorado, which is scary considering one, it's Colorado, and two, they play in Colorado.
Yeah. When you look at the expected numbers from last year, the Blue Jays supposed to be worse because the Rockies have the whole Rocky, mile high, whatever.
Seriously, right? But this year, I mean, there's been a major turnaround, and it really does all come back to those unexpected breakouts. Yariel Rodriguez, probably a name that if you're not a Toronto Blue Jays fan, you're not super familiar with. He is having himself a breakout season. Came over from Cuba, a year or two ago. No one really knew what he had to offer, and now we are seeing it on full display. Brendan Little, a name that nobody would have been on, preseason, and now, this is turning into one of the better lefty bullpen arms, in a high leverage situation.
In baseball.
Seriously, like in at least the American League, like he's been phenomenal. And that's really what is driving this Toronto Blue Jays team is all of these unexpected breakouts, right? There's so many because, you have the star power of Vlad and Bo. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, they're not right now like anything to write home about. Like they're doing fine. They're doing just fine. But it's all of this other, the supporting cast here that is really pulling their weight.
Which gives a lot of hope for the Blue Jays down the line where, baseball season, there's lots of ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows. And right now you're seeing the supporting cast really carry the workload. Well, when they eventually do get Santander back and maybe he's healthy and maybe he starts hitting home runs again, and then you get that big stretch from Vladdy that is coming and Bo Bichette, then it's like, okay, well, if the supporting cast is still there, now we're like just steamrolling teams for the rest of the season. But if they want to take a step back, well, then they could pick up the workload, and vice versa. Same with the rotation. So right now the Blue Jays at a really great place, and the playoff odds reflected. I think they're now up to 60% in terms of playoff odds.
Listen, this is what it's all about, right? This is really what it's all about here. And as you can see, in the last month or so of baseball, even less than that, couple weeks of baseball, Toronto has just been absolutely skyrocketing up the standings. 65.9. We can round that up to a 66% chance. So effectively, they are saying that 2/3 of the time the Toronto Blue Jays should make the playoffs. Does that feel right to you?
Like, it's crazy because it's happened so fast. That's why it doesn't feel right, because it's, my mind isn't catching up. Time flies so quick. I'm like, wait, it was just 3 weeks ago. We were at like 30.
Right.
Why are we at 69? But I mean, it's because we're at, we're playing the best baseball we are right now. And we look at the wild card, like, we're actually starting to get comfortable. And I say we as if I'm the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are starting to get comfortable in that first wild card spot. So, I mean, looking at the American League, I always said if one team decided to get hot for like 2 weeks, which the Blue Jays have been, then you can be a contender in a weak American League. So I believe it.
Honestly, for me, I am a Blue Jays faithful, Blue Jays diehard. 66% feels high. Like it feels high. I would love to see a couple more of these teams really start to drop off in the next month, right? Because typically it's all about the lead up to trade deadline. Are you in? Are you out? For me, I would love to see the Seattle Mariners out.
Gone.
I would love to see the Kansas City Royals, at the very least, just holding. I don't want to see you buying. You're there, but you're not a threat anymore. Same thing with Cleveland, right? These are teams that I'd love to see make that choice of, okay, we're not going to be able to compete with the Toronto Blue Jays this year, so we're not even going to fucking try. So for that reason alone, 66 does feel high, but I do believe in the squad right now. And, wild card aside, don't sleep on that division, right? I mean, just a couple games back now, from the New York Yankees. I wouldn't be getting too comfortable, Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees, I love the run differential. It's over 100. Whereas it's funny, the Blue Jays are right behind them, and they have a run differential of +4.
Hey, man, the only stat that really matters is this stat right there.
I know. But, hey, listen, if the Blue Jays want to make it entertaining and give the Yankees a run for their money, I'm all here for it. So, speaking of the Blue Jays and their potential to go deep in a postseason or even make a postseason, shout out to Betway, everybody. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the details section to join the action. So, I was trying to find literally right before this podcast, like, Blue Jays, odds to make playoffs because they have that line. Right now, they've gotten rid of it because I think they're reevaluating because we're seeing what's happening right now. And as well, the total wins, they're reevaluating that. So until those come out, we've got this one. Blue Jays to win the World Series is 41 times multiplier. I probably still wouldn't take that. But honestly, I'd be waiting right now to see what they come out with for playoff odds because it was like times 4 year money or times 3 year money.
Yeah, like a week ago.
A week ago.
Like not
Dude,
even that long.
I would be smashing that right now if that was still the odds.
But that's the thing. It won't.
It won't be because, they're 2 to 3 times they make it, so the odds would say, smash it. So if you did take that a few weeks ago, lucky you.
But you know what? Maybe we're going to be saying the same thing in a week or 2 weeks from now about the 41 times World Series odds.
Yeah,
just
you never know.
Right
so take it right there, guys. Guys, let us know what you thought. Let us know your thoughts about the Toronto Blue Jays in the comments down below. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.